I've always believed that a mother's intuition is sharper than any blade. So when my son Adil married Sana, a woman I had barely known for 6 months, something deep inside me felt unsettled. It wasn't that she was rude or disrespectful. In fact, she was polite, charming, and always had the perfect smile ready. But sometimes, perfection is the biggest warning sign. The wedding was beautiful, lavish, and everything a modern couple dreamed of. Families danced, friends cheered, and I watched my son beam with happiness. Still, beneath that joy, I saw something tight in his shoulders, a tension he was trying to ignore. It wasn't until the guests began leaving that things took a strange turn. I was gathering the leftover gifts when I saw Sana whisper something sharply into Adil's ear. His expression froze, then he nodded, hesitant. The newlyweds went to a side room where she closed the door a little too quickly. That's when my instincts kicked in. Something wasn't right. After 10 minutes, Adil walked out looking troubled. His eyes avoided mine before he disappeared toward the groom's suite. Later that night, once all the guests were gone, I went to congratulate the couple again. As I stepped toward their room, something white on the floor caught my eye. Papers, several of them, slipped under the door as if they had been dropped or pushed aside in a hurry. Curiosity isn't a sin when it protects your child. I picked them up and froze. The documents were legal agreements, pre-wedding contracts, ownership transfers, and something I had never expected. A clause that required Adil to sign over 40% of his business shares to his new wife immediately after marriage for security and future family planning. What security, what planning? It was a trap dressed as responsibility. Worse, one document stated that if the marriage ever ended, Sana would retain full ownership of the marital home, a home I bought for my son years ago. My stomach tightened. This wasn't a marriage. This was a planned acquisition. I knocked sharply on the door. Adil opened it, startled, his tie loosened, his hair messy, and his face pale. "Amy, what's wrong?" I held up the papers. "These. Why were you signing these on your wedding night?" His face drained of color. He tried to speak, but words failed him. Sana, who had been sitting on the bed, stood up quickly. "Amy, it's not what you think." "Oh, then explain," I said, my voice far calmer than my heart. Adil finally managed to talk. She said they were harmless, just routine financial agreements. She said all married couples do this nowadays. All married couples, I raised an eyebrow, or just the ones she needs control over. Sana's eyes flashed with annoyance, but she tried to hide it. "These are necessary documents. My family believes in financial clarity. There's nothing wrong with that." I spread the papers on the bed. "Clarity? You mean taking nearly half my son's company overnight, claiming property that isn't even his alone to give, forcing him to sign something without giving him time to read it?" She hesitated for the first time. Adil sat down, rubbing his forehead. "Amy, I didn't want to sign them, but she insisted. She said the marriage would feel unstable if I didn't show trust." Sana crossed her arms. "Exactly. If you trust me, these papers shouldn't matter." "That's emotional manipulation, not trust," I said firmly. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then Adil turned to her slowly. "Why did you need these tonight? Why not before? Why after the wedding when I had no chance to think?" Her mask slipped. "Because if I asked before, you would have refused, and my parents told me it was better to secure things immediately." There it was, the truth, sharp and ugly. I placed my hand on Adil's shoulder. "My son, marriage is built on trust, not fear. If someone pressures you into giving away everything the moment she becomes your wife, what do you think she will do in 10 years? Adil stared at the papers again, and something inside him hardened. "Sana, I can't sign these. Not now, not ever." She stepped back as if he had struck her. "So you're choosing your mother over me?" "I'm choosing what's right," he said quietly. "If you loved me, truly loved me, you wouldn't need to trap me." Tears welled in Sana's eyes, but they were too clean, too calculated. Adil, I said gently, you can still build a future together, but not with lies, not with pressure, start with honesty. Instead of reflecting, Sana exploded. Fine. If you don't sign, then maybe this marriage shouldn't have happened. And with that, she stormed out of the room, leaving an icy silence behind. Adil looked devastated, but also relieved, as if a spell had finally broken. Amy, he whispered, thank you. I felt something was wrong, but I didn't want to start a fight. You didn't start anything, I replied softly. But you also shouldn't lose everything for someone who planned more for your money than your marriage. That night, Sana stayed at her parents' home. Days passed, lawyers got involved, and her family insisted the documents were standard practice. But Adil refused to sign anything without understanding it. And when he didn't cave, the truth came out. Sana and her parents had planned to gain control of his business to support their family ventures. Eventually, the marriage ended quietly within weeks. It wasn't the ending I had hoped for my son, but he walked away with his dignity, his future, and his clarity intact. Months later, he told me something that stayed with me. Amy, those papers saved me, the fact that you read them. If you hadn't, I would have spent my whole life trapped. I hugged him tightly. A mother doesn't raise a son just to watch someone else break him. And deep inside, I felt grateful for the intuition that had whispered to me at the wedding. Because sometimes, a mother's instinct is the one truth hidden behind all the lies.